Sometimes in our life, we experience grief or sorrow. It can be devastating. We don't understand it. We can't even imagine sometimes why some things happen. And yet, if we look through the lens of the soul that experiences this field of love, we begin to see in ways that are different from the ways we look at it with our rational, logical mind. The fifth code is one that we've all experienced. And yet what we haven't experienced is the perfection. The perfection of the imperfection. In the ancient creation story, it talks about this fifth stage with some interesting language. There's two aspects of this perfection with the imperfection. The ancient scripture, the ancient teaching, describes one of those aspects as the birds of the sky. In this mystical garden, this garden that I sometimes think of as the garden amidst the flames, the birds of the sky come to land on the shoulders of St. Francis of Assisi. The stages of St. Francis's life are very different. They go from his life as the son of a wealthy merchant to becoming the St. Francis that builds and rebuilds the small village church and attracts in that process a band of followers. And it transcends and includes that to where he has a vision, and that vision includes changing the church, which at that point would change the world. The birds of the sky land on St. Francis's shoulders, and what I will assure you is that the St. Francis part of you knows that same energy that will attract these divine levels of support that are so significant in you fulfilling destiny. Right now, it's perhaps becoming less clear whether it's your individual soul's destiny, your personal destiny, or even a destiny that's beyond that. The imperfection side is on the other side of this garden path. And we can begin to see that also in our lives. In our experience of living life on the human plane, we often don't immediately see the divine potential. We often don't see through the eyes of the soul. We begin to experience the feelings of our humanness and the feelings of, how can this be happening in my life? And we come to that in-between time. The path in the garden goes right in between St. Francis Garden on one side and what on the other side we created as the best representation that we could think of the great sea monsters. I'll bet you've experienced some of those great sea monsters in your own life. In order to see the great sea monsters, you have to go up the stairs. You can't see it from the level of the human plane perceptions, from the level of your distress, and from the level of your pain, from the level of your grief. You have to go higher. If you have ascended the stairs in these experiences of imperfection or what feels so devastating in your own life, you will be able to see from a whole different level, a level that very few others potentially can. It's the level of the soul. And you can see how the soul journey is working in your own life and in their lives. It doesn't mean you won't feel sorrow still, or that you won't feel grief still. Those are human feelings that are part of the experience of loss. And yet you are being catapulted into realms that are beyond. Realms where you perhaps will be a way shower for other people, for other souls. Be gentle with yourself. Know that these realms are rare and that in some way you have been called to know them.